Welcome, family, yet to another Divas Talk as Sisters podcast. I am super excited that you guys are here joining in once again. And if you haven't and it's your first time, go back and listen to episode 1 through 6 because today is going to be 7. And I wouldn't want you to miss it. I want you to catch up and keep it moving. If you are more of a verbal person and don't want to be the visual, that's perfectly fine. I did do the 12-week episodes on Spotify and Anchor. Go out and check it out and get your headphones in, plug them in, and get to going. Again, thank you. I can't thank you enough for joining. And you know how we do it. If you are a continuous viewer, it's recap. So what I'm going to recap is the previous episodes, just a little bit in detail so that you can know where the story is going. Episode 1 was, Girl, Do You Need a Check? Do you need a self-check? And that's basically when you graph yourself at the door. You need to check yourself before you can check someone else. You have to make sure all your ducks in a row and, you can bring to the table attitude and everything behind that. Episode 2 was stuff that your mama never told you. Now keep in mind, we know there are a lot of things that our mom have not told us. They could have altered the story or told us what they wanted us to know, even if it was just to protect us, especially as girls. Our moms tend to hold things back because they want to protect our heart, they want to protect our spirits. They definitely don't want us to know what's out there in that real world and things that women endure. Love my mama to death, but there is some things she did not tell me. So go back and check it out. Episode 3. Episode 3 was, oh my god, this is crazy. Episode 3 was Super Soul Conversations. That's when you tap into your mind, your body, your spirit, and your soul so that you can connect more into the universe. And believe you me, the universe, I say, because the universe hears you. Speak it into existence. Learn your body. Learn your body. Again, learn your body. Your soul belongs to you, but the spirit belongs to God. So make sure that you learn it. Episode 4 was Given Second Chances. Second chances are always good if it wasn't for the same mistake. If you're going to keep forgiving people for making the same mistakes, then you're just going to be stuck there. Sometimes people want to reveal who they really are after the first time they made a mistake, and it's another mistake, but a different mistake. Episode 5 was A Thing or Two About a Diva. Now, like I said about a diva, is just basically learning her style and how she operates and things that she do, how she dresses, how her appearance is. She wants to be a statement. She wants to be relevant to not just herself, but she wants to be relevant in the world, to make a difference. Episode 6 was Girl, Was We Sleep or Our Head on Our Desk in History class. That is basically saying that a lot of things about our ancestors and our past, like our grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, mom, dad, we don't know about, we were taught about, we were told about, but we're still learning. I mean, even at almost 52 years old, there is still things that I am learning about my history, about my family, that may take longer than I thought because it is some deeply rooted stuff, a lot of surprising stuff. Like I spoke about in last week's episode, my family, I love my family to death, but we've had some stuff in this family, and we're all scattered and spread all over the world, and I'm not just talking about on my dad's side, I'm talking about on my mom's side as well. We have stories. Today's episode is episode 7, and It's called Call Your Girlfriend, because I ain't the one. I don't roll like that. What this topic tonight is basically in detailing is when you're at a vulnerable stage in your life and you meet that person, or you work with that person, or just on the phone with somebody you haven't talked to in a while, whether it's the same sex or opposite sex. You trust them enough to know or think not to take advantage of you in certain situations. But sometimes that is not always the case. Sometimes, I'll tell you a little story. It was more me getting that interview. One of my previous coworkers that I was actually the manager for, and she was assistant underneath me. I had a couple at the previous job. Me and another person had got laid off, not due to your job not being done, due to delay in money with the company. So, it's all who you know. I reached out to one of the assistants, and at that time she was overseeing the assistants over there. So, a favor for a favor. And set it up and told the doctor, hey, my friend, she needs the job, and she's a very good worker. She was my manager at this place over here, and I know she'll do good and fit well into this group. So I go to the interview, and it's just this dark chocolate guy, real ripped up and buff, military brat. In there doing the interview and nailed it. And all to find out a year and a half later that he had an alternative motive. Now, I say that to say, I watch a lot of Lifetime movies, and in these movies, sometimes these guys, matter of fact, I was watching a movie last week, and this girl interviewed for this job, and, she rised up to the chart quick, and she had no reason why. So her boss asked her to go out to dinner. And in the process of her, I got to go step to the restroom. That's why you should never trust anybody with your drink left on the table or you away from it. But she happened to go to the restroom, and when she comes back, she said, oh, this wine is really, really good. It's a different taste. She's a red wine girl, so she likes that sweet. So as she eating her dinner and drinking her wine, she finds herself getting a little loose, a little extra, and he's just sitting over there meditating, just waiting how long it's gonna take for him to take her. And next thing you know, she wakes up in a hotel room with a robe on her stomach face down. And keep in mind, she was married, and he had been calling, the husband had been calling, but we don't know what type of drug that was that kept her asleep as long as it did. But I said it to say, as the story kind of got further deeper into it, he had drugged her and he had raped her, and he kind of made her into what you want to say his sex slave. He did, if you don't do this, then I'll tell that. He knew she was married. He was so vindictive to whereas he really wanted her. He even, hey, now you have your own office, which he only wanted the office to have more private areas for her and him. And she fed into that because she wanted to keep rising, but she didn't know how to tell her husband either. So what she did was, she kept it in. She kept dealing with it. And a lot of times we do that because, this is our job. This is somebody we trust. Hey, at the time, the person who this episode is based off, if you haven't known, now you do know. I had just got separated from my husband. Still back and forth trying to make things work. But in the process of that, him not being able to stand the grounds of a husband, doing what he's doing, and not with one but two people, I won't put his name out there because he's still my friend. But I mean, I love him to death. But he did things that I didn't feel loved about. I didn't feel like I was enough for him, that he had to keep going out and doing what he did. So I took a change and I said, hey, you know, so I'm telling my story to my boss, you know, constantly just feeding in, telling him, you know, what I'm going through, telling him what I've been going through, telling him what I'm trying to get out of. And, you know, that ear is just there. And, you know, and keep in mind, this was not a type of guy that I even liked. Yeah, he was ripped up. I like buff guys, but he wasn't my type of guy. So he grew on me. And when people tend to show you more care in your vulnerable stages, more concern and taking care of you, knowing that this person who had that job is not doing that job, even though he had another job with his situation, because I failed to mention he had a wife, a living wife. I was separated, 2 different houses, but a living wife. So back to the story. So he, you know, I was getting $1,000 a week outside of my paycheck, seeing him more than she was, and you know, I was living a life, at least I thought was the best life. But will I ever do it again? Never will I ever. And like I spoke in my previous episodes, I walked away but went back, you know, and God whooped my butt for that. So when I say to make sure that what you're doing is the right thing, because karma is a mofo. When I tell you, she whooped my behind. But I basically, you know, I worked with this person Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I worked 2 Saturdays a month, on call at the hospital when it was time to do trauma surgery. I was there. So I might have seen him, like I said, more than his wife. So I began to feel like I'm important. If he's putting in more time here for me and doing this for me, then it doesn't matter what he's doing over there. For this person, I matter. And that's where that vulnerability came in. And I shouldn't have been a bait to that. But when you are not getting certain things from someone else, of course, what do? If somebody else is showing us attention, we definitely gonna take that attention. We definitely get sucked in. So I'm speaking from experience, and I am telling you guys that that is not the way to go. But that's my story. That's my testimony, right? Trials, tribulations, and testimonies. We all speak about, we all have. So let me go back a little bit about some other stuff that I spoke about outside of that topic there. Okay, so like I did onto my verbal podcast when I spoke about the verbal one, it's you know, it's like switching gears. When you go into that D1 gear, you know, that's if you ever drove a stiff, or you know the shift, if you know how to do a stick. You get out of that first gear in order to get to your second and your third gear. Now, sometimes it's real hard to get out of D1, you know, because when I learned how to drive a stick, it was hard as hell. It took me forever to get out that D1. But that's how life treats us. Sometimes it's hard to get out of that D1 situation. Like, it's like when you're dealing with divisions of sports, you know, they consider D1 the highest rank. Oh, that's a D1 college, you know, that you got accepted at that D1 college. You're in good standards and stuff like that. A D2, D3, all of those are low grades. Well, in this story, D1 is the weak stage. D2 is the gradually moving stage. And D3 is the best stage, the best you being you. And a lot of times, it takes us longer to get there because we don't know how. It's what we've seen. Like I spoke about in our previous episodes. It's what you grew up around. It's what you've seen. I've seen so much of my mom tolerating and my mom dealing with so much from my father. And I'm a daddy's girl, like I said. I love my daddy to death. But we mimic that style. And what I mimic, I tend to attract the same type of guys. And that's what I did. I forgave, I stayed. So it's like second chance, third chance, fourth chance. There was no switching out of those gears, you know what I'm saying? When I shifted to D2, I read this thing. I just want to read it to you. Shift to D2 now into the definition read. It is considered the learning phase and the discovery phase, which is supposed to be the time you learn, just like you learn your babies. When they're in that age range from birth to normally 1, they're doing different things that we notice. They're making sounds, they're drooling, they're being observant, they're knowing who my mom is, my dad, my sisters, other family members. They're interacting and engaging. Sometimes by 4, 5, and 6 months, they're trying to sit up because they want to be pushed there already out of that D1 phase and on their way to D3. Outside of pushing up, now they're trying to walk because they see if they land on the bed and you over here and they want to be over there and you ain't getting them fast enough, they want to get to that point to where it's, hey, I'm going to get there myself. So it's just like us in life, we know in our minds mentally that we're going to get there. We want to get there. We even speak about getting there. But do we physically get there? No. We take our time with things. It's like the tortoise and the rabbit. We're just going slow, and the rabbit's already beating us, and we're just going. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. And by the time we get there, we look at, where's my life gone? What did I do? Why did I allow so much? Those are all the whys. Those questions: why we did, why didn't we? Just like we can't ask God why. We can't say why about our story that God has already written for us. All we can do is continue to live it like He written it because we don't know it, right? So all we can do is try to alter the directions. But if your story continues to be the same story and the same story, God has given us free will and saying, you know what? We've written this story already. You lived through this story again. Why are you continuing to stay in that chapter? Why aren't you moving to chapter 2, chapter 3? Just like your gears, D1, D2, D3. We have to learn acceptance, but our mental breakdown sometimes, being worthless or feeling worthless, it gets us into a different character, a different phase in our life, should I say, because we want to feel like, I know we're loved. They love us. Like I said in previous videos, we get love from the time we're in the womb, from the time the mom figure out what our sex is in the stomach. So we have the love. What type of love are we looking for, though? Do you know? Where and who is supposed to give us the best love? Do we know? No. We know that our dad's the first man that we love. So we're thinking or expecting the love that dad gave us. It's the same love that our man is supposed to give us, which in some cases can be true because there are some amazing fathers out there, not just to girls, but to boys as well. And there are some that's, some that's not present, some that's not relevant. It doesn't mean that you have to live their lifestyle, but sometimes you attract the same type of people who his lifestyle resembled. And To me, that's just something I guess we have to go through in order to get to our testimonies. Some people, I know, I look at a lot of like domestic violence situations, and like I spoke last time about my cousin in that situation, being murdered, which is nothing to really be talking or bragging about. But there are some women that put themselves in situations that you know better. Why do you do it? I am one. I can honestly say, I am that girl. I did that. I did that because that's all I knew. I did that because I wanted my family. I did that because I didn't want people in my business. I did that to try to keep my family together so that my kids could have a great life. But I learned, having my father in the house, I rather had him out of the house. And that way, I could have still been a daddy's girl, but a daddy's girl from afar. That way, I wouldn't have studied and been observant of his lifestyle that he did, because that projected off on me. And even though my dad did a lot of stuff, he never not loved me. He always showed me love, honor, and respect. So I know that part is something that was a must in my life, that I should have had in my life. Now, let's shift to D2 now. Now we're into D2 gear, okay? Now we've dealt with that. We got away from that situation, and now we're saying, okay, we made it through. Now you're here, you're starting your life, you're getting things done according to how you feel that, okay, my breakthrough is here. That's the second chance, right? D2 is your second chance. Now, if you're going to give him a second chance and it is not for the same mistake, then that's perfectly fine. But if you're giving him a second chance because he decided he's going to get himself together, or he's going to do better by you, and you still see the toxicity, you still see the patterns, you still hear the verbal abuse, you still feel the emotional abuse, you still conceive the mental abuse, then stretch it. No, bye. Let's get up out of here. In order to shift to your 3 gear, you got to get to D3, and that's where a lot of our women now, we're self-independent. A lot of us, we're doing things to where we don't need a man. We want a man, but do we need a man? No. There are so many women out here that's doing so much better without them, And then there's some that's doing great with them. We don't know everybody's story. Everybody has one, like I always talk about in my episodes. Some people keep things in closed doors so that the rabbit won't come out the box, because if it does, I was one, you'll be judged, you'll be talked about, you'll be like, oh, I knew it was something more, it was too good to be true. Believe me, that would be the case. It would be too good to be true in some cases. Now we're going to shift to D3, and that's the part and the gear that we've started over. Now we're not dealing with anyone else that caused what we went through. We're like on the mountain. We got there, and we're learning new things, whether it's new careers, whether it's new education. We may even, now our kids are older now, so we can do better with our kids, to save them or preserve them from what they just endured into that relationship that you were in, whether it was around them or a previous person that dealt with stuff that can reflect on them. I'm sorry guys, my eyes are like itchy and red. Like I told you, I had that allergic reaction today, so I'm kind of trying to keep my eyes open. I put the eye drop in it, and I also took a Benadryl to get the puffy and eyes and all that stuff gone, and it's gone now, but I still feel the effects of the Benadryl because I'm not a medicine taker, I promise you, and Lord have mercy, any little thing, I'll be out of there. I promise you, I'm not drunk, it's just the Benadryl, okay? So, call your girlfriend, because I don't roll like that, is don't call me when you and your girlfriend going through stuff. Don't call me when you need that extra sexual intimacy. Don't call me when you say, I'm done with that person, but you ain't done with that person. There's a lot of things that goes behind call your girlfriend because I ain't the one. But we as individuals have to learn that we have to stick to that. We have to be certain that that's what we're going to do. Because even different encounters with, I think it was a couple of months ago, they had a married man that it was on some TV show that was having an affair with a girl, and she had got pregnant. And during the relationship, I don't see how you don't expect, if you're not wearing protection, how do you expect for it to not to happen if both of you guys can have kids? But anyway, he killed her because she confronted the wife and told the wife. It's one thing to be out of line in a relationship when you know you're with a married man, and it's one thing for you to step out of line, because at the end of the day, the wife is the innocent one. She does not know. She may suspect by things that he may say or do. Because my situation, I think how it was spilled was he was dreaming a lot and calling my name in his sleep, and started asking questions, and wasn't a crazy woman. As a matter of fact, she was a school teacher, so she was not stupid by the long shot. Now, the role that I took on, because I was under the impression from the story that was told to me that I'm not gonna be here, I'm leaving, I got this in motion, I'm not doing this anymore, and showing the same thing that can relate to the story that was told, you tend to believe that. Now, one thing I do want you guys to know is I didn't want him in that way. So when he came to me and said, hey, she's gone, we could be together now, I'm ready, I was like, no, I don't want you like that. I mean, I enjoyed the ride while it was fun, but I don't want you in that way, because you have to think about it. Like I said, karma. He can come right back on you, and if he's doing that to her, and this woman have no idea, and loving him and gave him kids and everything, how would he do me? Why would I set myself up for failure? So I had to avoid this situation by relocating, changing email address, because it became a stalking situation. Changed my phone number because it was crazy. So, like I said, guys, you guys cannot put yourself in situations like that. It is very, very dangerous. So, that's a little bit about Go Ex Your Girlfriend. I don't roll like that. I'm a diva. Thanks again for joining in today for episode 8. And I'm not going to say bye. I'm going to say see you next time for episode 9, which we will be doing. I'm so sorry. I'm ahead of myself. Episode 8, where we will be doing Nice to Finally Meet You, Diva. And of course, I'll recap. But go ahead out and subscribe to K-Love-Bug K-Love-Bug at 1021 on YouTube. I will connect it here so that you can get the the actual site, and you can go back and see the other videos as well. And I'm also going to put my the Spotify, if you wanted to listen to it. You can go on Spotify and listen to it. But I need to add something in before I totally say goodbye. That situation escalated to soon-to-be ex-spouse Ben showing up at a place that I've never told him I even worked. And me walking a patient out, and all I hear is boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, wow, you know, I know I have another patient to discharge, but I got this one. Where's the other one? It's not time for me to go and get him. And I hear a lot of screaming and tussling. And as I put the patient in the car and I go back, it's my son to be ex and him literally fighting. So keep in mind, they can bring it to wherever you are. So behave, be good, and know that it's not worth it, okay? So again, I'm going to say, see you next time. Thanks again for joining. I really appreciate you guys. Share, subscribe, and like. Talk to you guys next week. Bye.